think before you act. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, think before you act. Look at somebody else and say, I am my brother's keeper. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. Thank the Lord. Thinking. Think before you act. Think. That's a powerful word, is to think before you act. To think really is to consider, reflect, reason, or ponder something. Is to think about it. Make a more sensible or practical decision about after reconsidering what you are thinking. Really think, seriously think before you act. The idea is that of focusing our thoughts until they shape our behavior. Because there are consequences to your action. So then what we are today is based upon what we have thought over the years. Based upon how we think about any given situation that we've had to deal with. We dealt with it based upon our thinking. I ain't getting nobody in here. Now, when he says, in this story here, listen, the truth of the matter is about thinking is that what we think is what we become. Where we have kept our mind is where we are today. Our thoughts shape our behavior. What we do is what we think. How we act to anger is based on how we think. And so it is today that we must think before you act. That is, the word today is that we should think before action. I believe some in here that's listening to my voice and some by radio or television that's listening to my voice. God has given you an opportunity to straighten it out. If you done messed up like Cain, God will give you another chance to straighten it out, to get your thinking right. You have to get your thinking right. Because let me tell you something more about thinking. Everything that exists, it began with a thought. I ain't getting nobody in here. I said everything that exists in the world, it began with a thought. When God said, let there be light, and there was light, it began with a thought. A thought that God wanted it to be light. The sun, the moon, the stars, everything, it began with a thought. The fish in the sea, amen, the birds of the air, the cows, the cattle, and everything that exists, it began with a thought. Look at the clothes you have on. Somebody thought it. Look at the hat you have on. Somebody's shoes on your feet. The car that you drive. The house that you live in. The dishes that you have. The stove, the refrigerator. Everything started with a thought. I ain't getting nobody in here. And God has given us a mind to think before we act. God has given us a mind to create stuff by thinking. It all depends upon the way you think about a situation. You can think good or you can think bad. You can think you can or you can think that you can't. You can think you up or you can think you down. You can think your way out of a situation. It's all about the way you think. If you think you can't make it, guess what? You can't make it. But when you begin to say, I can, do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Touch your neighbor and say, think before you act. Think. That is a powerful thing to think. And then when you think, you can create something. You see, things are thought out and begin to create it within your own self. And you can say, I have it now. And you can accomplish things when you think. But you got to think before you act, and then you got to think right. And you will do right. I ain't getting nobody in here. So it is everything that exists today. It began with a thought. Going to the moon, the astronauts, it began with a thought. And when they start talking about going to the moon, others that didn't think it, didn't see it. But the one that thought it knew that one day that people on this earth, or this planet, were going to another planet. It all began with a thought. I thank God for the minds that are in here. I don't know how I'm going in here today. I thank God for the minds that are in here today. Everyone that have been blessed with the mind to think. And you don't have anything. Why? Because you're not thinking about having nothing. If you want to have something in this life, you got to begin to think about having something in this life. And then you're going to apply yourself to accomplish your thinking. Our thinking is our driving wheel. Our thinking is our GPS. It's our navigator. You think right, you will do right. You just begin to think. Press your navigator and it'll drive you into your destiny. Think before you act. A lot of people make bad decisions. It's because they don't think. Because if you think, you begin to formulate a sensible, a practical decision before you act. Because there are consequences, I mentioned before. To everything we do in this life, there's a consequence to it. And so it is, we are today based upon our thinking in the past. We are today based upon our thinking. And if we're going to be about anything in the future, it's going to be a springboard of our thinking. And if you think positive, guess what? You begin to make steps of positiveness. You don't have to be one that fall through the cracks. You don't have to be one that end up downtown at 201 Poplar. If you think right, let me just say this. If you think before you act, you'll be your own judge and jury. I said if you think before you act, you'll be your judge and the jury. You'll even be your own attorney. I ain't getting nobody in here. Because I am my brother's keeper. So much is going on in our city, and God has impressed in my spirit that we got to do something. I said the church of God got to do something. I know they are trying to stop a lot of this stuff, but the church of God has to step out and do something.